Hey, what's good, guys? Welcome to my YouTube channel. Dick Daniel here, and today I want to show you a very powerful trading strategy. Now, this is not a clickbait. This is a system that I have been trading for a long period of time now, and it's highly profitable. I'm not even saying you need to believe me, but all you need to do is to make sure you test the system out for yourself and see that it's really profitable and could change a lot for you as a trader. The one thing to keep in mind is the fact that this concept built on price action and market structure. So there's nothing too complicated, very easy, very detailed, and I will try as much as possible to make sure I give you step by step you can easily replicate in your trading to have an automated system that can easily fetch you money just by showing up the same time every single day and repeating the same thing every single time. Without wasting so much of your time, let's go over to the chart now and I'll show you a breakdown of this system. One thing I want you to keep in mind is no matter who is teaching you a system, don't just take that and start trading it live because you respect these people. Make sure you test the system for yourself. Make sure you're self-convinced before you move into a live market environment. So make sure you backtest this system I'm about to teach you. Make sure you try out every detail until you're self-convinced. It's a system that I have been trading. Please make sure you subscribe to this channel. Press the subscribe button. It wouldn't take so much of your time. So please subscribe to this channel. So over to the chart. Today is 30th of July, and we are using GBP USD. The 1 hour time frame would be our direction time frame, right? This would be the trend time frame. So what we're looking for is we want to look for setups from during the London session or within the London or the New York session, but we need to identify where price is coming from. Now in this case, this is our area of focus. Let me delete this so we have a clean chart to work with. The first thing you want to do, which is the first step, is you want to identify the trend of the market. And in this case, this is 2200, this is 2300. This candle is 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., and 7 a.m. Me, the London session starts around 8 a.m., 7 a.m. thereabouts. So every day, 6 a.m., you identify the structure of the market. So let me walk you with this. Now we have to identify the structure. We have a trend over here. That we have a break of structure. We have a BOS. So I will just go ahead and mark that a BOS zone over there. And we need to make sure for a BOS to be valid, a BOS is a break of structure. For a break of structure to be valid, we need to see a nice candle or a body. The body of the candle has to close above structure, which is very important. So the next step you want to do is to trace back. Now you have to mark the high. The high there would be your new resistance. Of course, if we get a break above, like you can clearly see the break over here. I can clearly see the break over there. We have a nice break of structure. That means this resistance is now support zone. So make sure you always keep this at the back of your mind. But we're working with this structure because we will be arriving on our chart every day by 6 a.m. I will try to repeat the same thing, identify this pattern like we're doing right now and wait for the entry. Step number one is to identify the trend. And one criteria to identifying your trend is making sure that the most recent impulse does break above, does take out a structure, either a market structure shift or a BOS. It's very important. The next step, like I said, is mark the high. That would be your high. So let's have this to be the high. Let's make this wall. So this would be your high, and then trace back to the start of that impulse. Trace back. We have this to be the start. This was where price started from. So this would be the start, and I'm going to mark this. I will mark this to be the low point. Now, whatever price does within this level, provided it doesn't break below this low point, then we're still bullish to the upside. We're still looking for buying opportunities. So if we've identified this, keep in mind that as at when we arrive, this movement wouldn't have played out yet, right? So our take profit is always at that resistance, always at the new high, always. Never forget this. So when you've done this, two levels I want you to keep in mind. The first level would be your supply zone or your demand zone. Now, in this case, we're looking for buying opportunity. So this would be our demand zone. And as you can see, this is where price pulled into. But you wouldn't see price come into this level every single time. There are times where price would maybe create a 50 to 61% retracement around this level and then continue in your direction. So just so you don't miss out, you have to make sure you have 2 points of interest, right? You have your, I call this the DVZ zone, where you're looking to see price coming to that level, create a reaction and give you a confirmation before you look for buying opportunities to the upside, or you're looking at your demand. Now, demand is in an uptrend, supply is in a downtrend. So we'll scale down to the 5 minutes time frame. The 5 minutes time frame would be the time frame where you're looking for entries. Now, the key thing you're looking for, let me just draw this out here so it's easy for you to identify when you're on your chart. Remember, we said we're looking to the structure we're working with now does look like this, right? So we have a structure that was broken. We have this structure that was broken as the BOS. We also have the new resistance, which is the new high, and we have the start of that impulse, which is the low of price. And I said this would always be your take profit zone. Always keep this at the back of your mind, that this would be your take profit zone. Now, when you go down to the 5 minutes time frame, this is where I want you to pay attention, because when you're on the 5 minutes time frame, you want to see a market structure shift. This is all about having price confluence, right? You need to make sure that the 5 minutes is in sync with the 1 hour time frame before you take a buy to the upside. Keep in mind, on your trend time frame, which is a 1 hour time frame, this might not even look like a visible move, but on the 5 minutes time frame, you're likely going to find lower lows and lower highs forming. So let me show you this real quick. Now, you see how we're on the 5 minutes time frame. I'll go ahead and adjust this as our high, because this is the highest point of price as at that time. Now, 6 a.m. price, this was 6:10, 6:15 thereabout. The price was ranging. We already saw the break of the structure, which means we're not looking for trading opportunities around this level. Now, the level we're interested in is here. We can either have aggressive entry, but I would rather you wait for price to give you a market structure shift, like I said. So right now, what I would do is I'm going to mark structures. I always do this every single time. You need to mark the lower lows and lower highs, starting from where price is coming from. So from this high point, we had a high, we had a lower high, we had a lower low, lower high, we had lower low, another lower high, we had lower low, lower high, lower low, and a break of structure. So this right here would be a signal for my first entry. So this would be my first buying opportunity, and I would have my stops below that level, because I want to see price come back into that level and give this enough room and target this to be my take profit level. And as you can see, this got us stopped out. So I would delete this and still do the same thing, because we have this in mind that provided price doesn't break below this low point, then we're still looking for buying opportunity. So over here, we had this deep all the way into the demand level, and then price got a rejection from the buyers. And guess what? We now have a new high, which is now the new market structure shift over here. The new market structure shift, I'll go ahead and just mark this MSS, the new market structure shift over there. And we do have the retest, which is price pulling back into this broken structure. So right now we have this to be our valid move, and of course we have this to be the stops over here. Make sure you always position your stop loss at a fair level where you give price enough room to play out. And of course, like I said, your take profit is always at the resistance. Now, this is very easy. The steps I just explained to you, I would do this following a day-by-day price performance for at least 5 days, for just at least 5 days, so you can see that this is something that you're likely going to find almost every single time. Keep in mind, as a day trader, your aim is catching one single daily candle. And the best way to do this is to understand the 4 phases that every candle would likely have. We have the accumulation, the manipulation, the distribution, and the exhaustion phase. And like I said, you're likely going to have the you're likely going to have the accumulation and the manipulation during the start of the Asian market, because that is when the daily candle would form. Now over here, let's do the same thing. We have the same structure, is the same thing is what we're looking for. We have this. Let me just bring this in. Okay, so remember I said we're arriving on our chart by 6 a.m. in the morning every single time. You have to keep in mind that you need to form a routine with your trading in order for you to see consistent result. Now this is 6 a.m. That's the 6 a.m. candle. So this would be when we're arriving. So what can we see based on what we based on the time we arrive? We can see that this structure is declining to the downside. So we're looking for selling opportunities only. Now we have the low, we have this to be the high was at this level. Let me mark this. We had this level, we have lower low, we have lower high, we have lower low. So now we've identified what we're looking for. Let me just mark this real quick. Identify what we're looking for, which is the start of that impulse started here. We had the breakout structure over here. We have the new low, which would be our take profit over here. So let me just mark this real quick. We have the high, sorry, the low. Yeah, that should be the low. No, this is the high, sorry. This would be the high. Of course, we're looking for selling opportunities. This is the BOS. This is the BOS over there. We have the low point, which would be our take profit, because this is a downtrend move. Now, like I said, in a downtrend, you have supply, right? So we'll go down to the 5 minutes time frame. Because this structure is so tight, this is why I keep telling traders, it's not really about, knowing these patterns. You have to learn to understand the how and the why these things form. That's the best way you're ever going to conquer, that's the only way you're going to have an edge in this market, because nothing would print 100% the same way every single time. It's understanding the logic behind them that would help you stay afloat in the days where they're not productive. So right now we have this, like we've said, we're looking for the market structure shift on the 5 minutes time frame. Of course, this may not be really visible, but we can see this. We have high, we have higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and for the first time we do have a market structure shift at this level over here. So now we're looking for what? We're looking for selling opportunities to the downside, and this would be ourselves. Preferably have your stops at the high of that structure, so you can ride price all the way down into this level. Of course, there are times where you might want to extend, or I would just say, for the sake of this video, take your profit at the net resistance. Let's go to the next day. I'll do for like 5 days. I don't want this video to be so long, so I'll do for like 5 days so you can see this for yourself, that I'm not picking, how most people will tell you that, oh, the YouTubers will always pick the perfect scenario and make content on them. Yeah, now I'm not doing that. I'm really not doing that for you, so you can see this for yourself. Now remember, 6 a.m. again, this is my 6 a.m. candle close. So this 6 a.m. closed and gave us a market structure shift. So this is a different scenario, but the same thing. So we have a market structure shift over here. We're going to trace to the start of that impulse. We probably have this here. We have a lower high, or at this level we have a lower low. So now we can say this right here is the start of that impulse. Provided price stays below this level, then we're looking for sales to the downside. So we need to mark our take profit level, which would be the low point at the zone. So we have the high again. You see how we're repeating the same thing every single time. We have the high over here, we have the low over here, and we would go to the 5 minutes time frame. Now feel free to either go to the 5 minutes or the 3 minutes time frame if the patterns aren't so visible for you. Just make sure you identify a market structure shift, so the 1 hour time frame and the lower time frame are in confluence, right? That for you is really important. So in this case, we have this was our first tap back into resistance. This was the first step back. Over here we had price pulling. This tap was the first retest back into structure. This happened around 8 a.m. and we were on our charts. Remember, we arrived by 6 a.m. Wait for the 6 a.m. candle to close. So I would go to the 5 minutes time frame, so I can the 3 minutes time frame, so I can support the market structure shifts. So you can see on this time frame we do have
the same thing we're looking for. We have, let me go ahead and mark this real quick. We have the low, the higher low, the lower high, higher high. So I'm mixing this, but you get what I'm saying. Higher high, higher low, higher high, and then we have the market structure shift over here. You can see every time price is doing this, you're just too distracted as a trader that you're not seeing it. That is the problem with most people. This concept is something that works all the time. You see, you have a 1 to 5 here. The next day, we had a 1 to 3 or a 1 to 2 thereabout. That's literally how this whole thing works. Now, let me do one more day. Let me do one more day. You can see how I have the lines to separate every single day. So let me do one more day, then we would call this we would just stop the video over here so it doesn't get too long. So remember, I said 6 a.m. right? You see, it's very this time frame I'm telling you is very strategic. You can see we have the 6 a.m. over here. So what you're looking for is the start, very easy, the end, and of course you can see that this was where we had the BOS break of structure. We had the BOS there, we had the high over here, we had the high over here, and let me zoom into this guy so you can clearly see this for yourself. And we have the low, we have the low at this level, right? And like I said, you're looking for that retest point either into the demand or the supply zone, or you're looking for price to give you a visible structure. So now on the lower time frame, we have this, we have this. Now this is not so clear, so I'll go down to the 5 minutes time frame but this was our first retest back into structure. I'll go down to the lower time frame and find the lower high structures that is visible. So let's go to the 3 minutes time frame and see if we can find something really visible on this time frame. Okay, so we have the same thing over here. We do have the low, the high, the higher low. We have higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, and then there's a structure down here, and price violated at this level. You can see pulled back into structure. Now if you miss this, you can always catch this, because when price pulled back into, sorry, let's take that out. We do have a structure over here. We have a structure over here, which you can see price did pull back multiple times into that level and then pulled all the way to the down. Remember, take profit is always at that resistance. That would be your point for taking profit. So this is a system that is really highly profitable. You can see how I didn't just pick a single day, and I didn't just pick random days. I went day by day. This is Friday 25th of July 2025. This is 28th of July 2025 Monday. This is 29th Tuesday, and this is 30th Wednesday, which is the most recent price. And you can see back-to-back win rates for this 5 consecutive days following just the same thing.
Thank you so much for watching this video, and like I said earlier on, make sure you backtest the system. Don't just take it and start trading it live. You need to make sure you're self-convinced, and the one way to do this is backtesting the system before you go live. So test the system out for yourself. As you've seen, I try to follow a day-by-day basis and followed on a single currency pair, not random setups, not random markets, not random pairs. So do this thing for yourself, and I can bet you that if you're systemic about this, you follow the routine step by step, there's a higher tendency that you will have this same results that I'm experiencing right now. And maybe someday you might own something like this. So thank you. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Make sure you click the bell notification so you're always notified when I make new content. Like I said, I will keep putting out content like this. And if you have a specific question about the system, maybe there was something I didn't really explain, please drop your comments in the section and I will try as much as possible to make a video on them. And as well, recommend trading concepts or strategies you would want me to make content on, and I will try as much as possible to educate you guys. So thank you. Until next time, keep being awesome. Bye.